As much as I enjoy this game, there are times where I'm genuinely blown back by the actions of some people in the community. There are people like Samifine and EBW who are just good people and don't add on to or create drama. And then there are others that just aren't as pure, unfortunately. And I'm bringing you guys this video to showcase one of these examples that I happened to encounter recently. For the past week or so, I've had this guy named Sashozz down my throat, calling me toxic, attacking me on YouTube and GD, and just spreading general misinformation about me. In retaliation, I'm making this video as just a recap of events. It's a breakdown of events showing how ego could corrupt even the youngest of us. This isn't much of a calling out video, because frankly, he doesn't have any argument whatsoever, other than, "You're toxic and I'm not." More of a warning to stay away from people like this. Attention seeking, ego infested, and ignorant. The first sign of Sashozz was when he joined Fyro's stream, boasting about how good he was and how hard his challenges are, claiming that Fyro would never be able to beat them. Fyro plays them just to appease him and shut him up, but he keeps talking. He goes on about how good he is, that he's going to verify a new top 1 that's 15 minutes long. Yeah, okay. He states that it's 45 times harder than Tartarus, but this kid hasn't beaten anything harder than Supersonic, and easy to medium insane, which is frankly not that impressive nowadays. He then asked the question, am I better than Phyrobot? Because Fyro didn't beat his shit challenge immediately, and speed hacked it to go back to practicing actual levels he was planning on beating. How this is proof that a Supersonic Victor is better than Phyrobot, a player who I feel is better than me, is yet to be seen. I tell him kindly to fuck off because legit no one in the stream cares if this random dude is better than Fyro. We're just there to have a good time and watch Fyro try and play the game. Fyro makes a joke that Sashozz hacked his challenges, and Sashozz immediately goes on the defense like his entire legacy was just attacked. Sashozz then makes a statement that he's one of the first players of the game, and this is where a story finally begins to unfold. Sashozz starts spewing stuff like, if I actually cared about the game, I could beat Silent Club by now, and I never got a rated level because my levels were too short. I'm never a fan of people who just come into streams, attack the streamer, and tell them that they're so much worse than themselves. So, I told him, just leave, stop being a dickhead, and he fucking got furious. Beep, one of Fyro's other mods, decides to time him out. And then when he gets out of the timeout corner, he says, it's a shame to see what the community has become these days. Which is also false, because later he says he didn't care about the community when he first started, so he had no idea where it came from and where it is now in comparison. He says to Fyro, you better appreciate that I'm subbed. Kuzu then joins the stream, and we literally just ask Sashozz questions about when he started playing, all of which he either avoids or answers with the most obvious answers. Kuzu asks Sashozz to name a player earlier than 1.9 who isn't well known, and Sashozz answers with Riot, Cyclic, Woogie, Sari, all well-known players. Kuzu asks about Switchblade, a well-known 1.9 level that even I knew about before 2.0, and I started a few months before 2.0. And Sashozz says he doesn't know it. He then tells me I shouldn't swear because I'm an adult. Okay? And then he calls us all retarded, which doesn't sound toxic at all. Kuzu keeps asking him, Sashozz AMU, name one good player from the 1.9 to 2.0 era that was popular back then, but isn't popular now. Please respond and actually read the question properly before saying I'm 8 years old, and got no response. This continues some more, and Beep comes back and asks obvious joke questions like, do you have girlfriend mod on Minecraft? Do you love Dream? And so on. Sashozz says he's leaving, but he doesn't leave until Fyro stops streaming. Almost immediately after Fyro's done streaming, I get this comment on the first haha video. You don't even sound like an adult. I'm still in the call with Fyro, Micros, and Kuzu at this point, and we start dying of laughter. Clearly this kid thinks that voice determines age, which is probably due to his inflated ego. He does have a relatively deep voice when compared to me, as do most people. I just have a higher pitched voice. I also know people older than me with higher and lower pitched voices. easily disproving this entire argument or statement or whatever it's trying to be. He goes on to call me a fourth grader because adults don't speak like that. Yet the only thing I did was disprove any attempt at a counter argument he had. This goes on and clearly at a dead end because this kid can't think of any counter argument other than, "You're toxic." Our story then goes two separate paths here: GD messages and YouTube comments. His first GD comment to me is this lovely gem. "I played GD since 2013, which he later admits is a lie. Minecraft since 2014, and Roblox since 2020. I don't know why you mentioned these. And I'm not bragging, okay? This is the truth. Go beat your head against the wall until you forget your name, you jerk." I don't know what this kid considers bragging, but if I went into someone else's stream and only talked about how much better I am than the streamer, I kinda think that would be considered bragging. He then starts sending me the player ID of Sashozz, his old account. He doesn't try and prove that it's his or that he owned it at some point. He just says his player ID is older than mine, which still doesn't prove he started in 1.0, assuming this is his account. Sashozz immediately disproves his first lie about starting in 1.0 with this, only to prove that his Sashozz account started before I did. But as before stated, there's no proof of him owning this account other than him saying so. And Sashozz has been proven to lie before with just about everything he's said so far, so I have no reason to believe this. He then says he reinstalled the game because of an editor bug with 3 times and 4 times speed portals, which doesn't prove anything other than him starting in 2.1. Then I get this gem of a line. "Sashozz and Sashozz are very similar names, so they are quite obviously my accounts." Clearly they're the same. Right, guys? They're so similar. No one ever has similar names to other people in GD. He then calls me a toxic child for some reason, probably because the only insult actual children come up with are yo mama jokes and repeating insults they already heard. He then tells me the proof is on YouTube, where he shows me the same thing he just told me in DMs. The video, unfortunately, has been deleted, as of most of his comments that he left on my videos, but I get emailed every response and every comment on my videos, so the only thing really gone are my responses, which I'm going to try my hardest to reinsert as best as I remember. I have a comment basically stating that there's no proof that the account is actually his, and he goes and gives me this. "Okay, I didn't even care about the community back in the day. Like, the only things I knew about the community back when I played on mobile is EVW and Riot's verification of Bloodbath. Also, unlike you, I know many things about Sashozz that nobody except maybe me and Raptap know. He beat 4 demons: the Nightmare, the Lightning Road, Crescendo, and Demon Mix. He beat all Raptap levels except the demons. He has the Illuminati icon and the Illuminati wave. If you don't trust me, ask Raptap. Also, a person doesn't need to have a YouTube channel or high stats to be considered an old player. In fact, I didn't even watch YouTube until 2014, and I didn't make a Google account until 2019. Also, you may not have known, but back in the day, it was possible to upload levels without having a GD account." Let's break this down one piece at a time. For starters, not knowing about the community doesn't mean shit. As if you played the game in this era, you would at least have a little more knowledge of the era than someone who just watched a Norkborg video and called themselves a GD veteran. Also, of course, I wouldn't know anything about Sashozz. I'm not pretending that it's my account. He beat 4 demons that literally everyone beats, which still doesn't prove he started in 1.0, and tells me to ask RobTop, like Rob pays attention to some random 6-year-old on the internet pretending to be older than he actually is. He then says that this account had 2 icons that came out in 2.1, which still doesn't make sense if he started in 1.0 like he claims, or 1.7 even. He also talked about how stats don't prove how old a player is, but like, come on. Name a player that has been playing for a long time that doesn't either have creator points, some sort of extreme under their belt, or a pretty hefty star count. EVW, Aeon Air, Viperin, hell, even me to an extent. You can visibly see we've been playing for a while due to one thing or another. Sashozz has 3k stars and 100 demons, something I could do in about a month or two, and I'm frankly not even that good at the game. So still, every evidence he has sent has been disproven, yet he still treats it as it's fact. He then says this: Boomsoks, sure. You are toxic. You swore and called me names so many times, and your main goal wasn't to call me out. You just wanted to be a troll. You are just a dumb toxic player who doesn't know how to prove things in arguments. Like, seriously. The only thing you've done in this argument is call me names and dislike bot me in both YouTube and GD. So many players said that it is impossible to prove when you started to play the game, and this is the problem with so many players in the community. Your insults can't defend yourself from my proofs. Honestly, take debate class. You would really need it if you would like to win an argument against a smart person. I played on my iPad since 1.7. You played since 1.9. At this point, I think you are the mad kid who is a liar. Also, I had so much proof already that seeing you still disagree just to show what a clown you are. Anything more you have to say? Adult who probably knows what he is doing? I won this argument. You can't disprove my points. Case closed. Bye bye. Arrivederci. Sayonara. Adios. This isn't in the script, but goddamn, that was fucking hard to read. That was written terribly. Instead of responding now, I'm just going to read the comment I left that I saved in another doc. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay, for starters, swearing isn't inherently toxic. Just because you don't like the way I speak doesn't make me a toxic person, especially since if you actually took some time to read through my comments, you would understand that I use swears to emphasize a point or for comedic effect. And this name calling you referred to consists of me calling you a child due to the fact that you're acting like one, and a liar, which you are. If you are upset at being called a child after acting like one, you're clearly just proving me right, as the only time people are insulted this extensively for being called a child is when they don't realize they're acting like one. Whether it's ignorance or just a really, and I mean really well-acted bit that you've been working on for years, you were and still are acting incredibly childish, making my so-called name calling more and more accurate. If anyone is toxic here, it would actually be you. You came into Firostream and do nothing but boast about your skill and say how much better you are than Fyro, which, newsflash, you aren't. When I see people like you in Fyro's chat acting like you are so much better than everyone else, you give me full permission to make a fucking mockery of you for being rude to the dude who's just streaming for fun. So yes, my main point wasn't to call you out, it was to make you realize you were being rude and annoying in a way that I find incredibly comedic, especially since you were going this far to attempt to prove yourself, and yet still backfire and prove me right. If you actually took the time to read my arguments, you'd see that it's more than just a troll, because clearly you can't keep a story straight. Every source of evidence you've ever sent has been easily disprovable, and me and Kuzu did disprove it. You blatantly ignoring us and telling us that you are a liar doesn't make me a troll, or toxic, or dumb either. If anyone here is, it's you. You are ignorant. And blissfully or not, it is still a childlike mentality to have. I haven't disliked any of your comments, or like any of my own either. I don't even know where you're getting that from, considering A, I have no idea how to fucking use dislike bot, and B, likes and dislikes literally mean nothing to me. The only people that would actively care about likes and dislike would be children, such as yourself. Also, I love the full line here, it's funny. It isn't impossible to prove when you started playing the game. In fact, many people could do it easily by looking at their stats, or progress in level creating, or difficulty, or hell, even uploads / community recognition. You have none of this. You have a YouTube channel that dates back no more than a year, beginner stats on your profile, plus a complete lack of community events from when you supposedly started playing, which I'm going to touch on later. Your only substantial evidence so far has been this video actually, which isn't even that solid of proof when you realize this could just be any old account of someone you knew that previously played the game. Just because you say the account is yours doesn't automatically mean I should believe you, especially since you have a massive tendency to lie. I fail to see how your complete lack of evidence is failure on the community's end, though. Of course, they wouldn't believe you. You have no actual proof of you being in the community any earlier than 2.0. Again, you talk about how all I do is insult, which is one way to respond to someone telling you to your face that you are a liar. This is just a childish line, which again is the reason I believe you're no older than 12. No actual adult talks like this. Debate class? Really? You need debate class. You have provided no evidence, and your only counter argument has been, "You're mean and just a troll." Debate class, debates require evidence and facts and proof, and you've provided none of that. This isn't a debate. This is a child not understanding the basics of conversation and defending a point. I've been disproving every lie to leave your mouth since Fyro's stream. You being ignorant and ignoring that does not make me a bad debater. It makes you seem like an infant. Now here's where it gets interesting though. You've been sticking with the story that you started playing in 1.0, played till 1.7, took a break, and came back to the game. But now it's you started in 1.7 and played on your friend's phone in 1.0? Wow, it's almost like you've been lying about how long you played the game. But no, Sashozz AMU would never lie about anything. I don't know if you understand. That was all sarcasm. I would love to explain it to you, but you'll understand when you're older. You changing the story so suddenly, after not having any proof of you starting earlier than 1.7, is more evidence of you telling lies for attention. But you're right, it does take a smart person to win an argument, which is why you're losing, lol. If you want to even have a chance at winning a debate, especially against any dumbwit with half a brain cell such as myself, you need to keep a solid story, otherwise your entire argument crumbles to dust. Granted, you didn't have much of an argument to stand on anyways. I'm not mad. This is incredibly fun for me. You're going to such extreme measures to try and make me feel inferior to you and believe your lies, and it's just not working. And if you could point out any time I was lying in this massacre, please be my guest. You're throwing back the same arguments I'm throwing at you literally means nothing more than cannon fire for me. Using someone's jokes against them as attempted insults, believe it or not, is childish. Which again is why I believe you to be a child. You again talk about proof, but I ask, where is it? You've ignored every attempt I had at disproving your arguments, so clearly you either can't read or refuse to be proved wrong. I don't know which. You literally didn't win any argument. You've done nothing but prove me right. Stay mad, kid, because I know you aren't going to read this and come back at me with the same insults yet again. If no one believes your shit lie about being in the community since 1.7, then stop spewing it around every stream you enter like anyone cares, because no one does. If you are on the verge of literally quitting the game because no one believes your lack of evidence and complete ineptitude of anything that has happened in the game, then do it. Clearly this game and the internet as a whole is just too much for you to handle. The internet wasn't made for 10-year-olds with a tissue paper mentality. And on the off chance you actually read this, please respond. Not only will your failure of a counter argument prove me even more right, but most of the stuff that comes out of your mouth is just really funny to read. I can't wait to read the same failed points you've been giving me since the start, lol. Then we go back to GD comments, and I get him telling me that I dislike bot him. I didn't. And he tells me that if I was actually in college, I wouldn't have the time to type all of that out. So have you ever heard of college before, Sashozz? Because you have a lot of fucking downtime. I'm taking 6 classes and currently do about 100 hours of work a week, and that's pushing it by a long shot, because I probably do half that. Add 56 hours of sleep and you get roughly 156 hours. Which means I still have 12 hours a week on a rough week, which is more than plenty of time to type out a half-hour essay on the ignorance and rudeness of a literal infant. He then calls me a mad kid and tells me he's blocking me on YouTube, which he still hasn't done for some reason. He actually subscribed to me now, which is even more ironic. He also says to forget about college and keep arguing with him, but more of him just wanting attention, I guess, but I don't really know. He comments on the Haha podcast again, saying how I shouldn't post this video. saying how it'll hurt both of our careers, which doesn't make any sense. It's not going to hurt me because I haven't done anything but point out the actions of a disgusting person in the GD community that I just happened to come across. And it's not going to hurt him because, I mean, look at my channel. I barely have 100 subs, and no one's going to hear this and actually care that this kid is a vile, toxic plague on anyone unfortunate enough to encounter him. No. The real reason I made this was to point out a flaw not only with the GD community, but a flaw as humanity as a whole. Ego and ignorance. Both are massive issues that tend to lead to most real world issues and conflicts. If you've been paying attention, you would have seen constant mention of both, because when left unchecked, both can turn a person from a kind and caring person to one of the world's biggest assholes. Whether or not Sashozz eventually grows up and leave me alone, or gets the balls to actually block me for real this time, my point is still proven. Sashozz's ignorance is what makes him the asshole he is currently. Having this "I'm right because I know I am" mentality is the reason he has his ignorance too. Rather than attempting to counter argue actual questions he had, he would call me toxic and avoid questions that he knows can disprove his entire case. Sashozz is clearly young based off the way he acts, but I'm genuinely praying that this is a bit that has been in motion for years on end, because it would have been the greatest bits of all time. Unfortunately, this isn't the case. Sashozz is just another 12-year-old with an ego problem.